Heller Barnes. Oh, I think it's Heller Barnes. Ask us anything, and we have Angela here as our guest. And of course, every week you hear kind of the same thing, where Johnny, being the big cheese here, he knows everybody in the industry. And how, Johnny, can you tell us a little bit about Angela and how you guys met and how this came together? And I know she's a person that you absolutely hate, but maybe you'll give us some details.
I absolutely adore Angela Rose Masi. I'm even gonna get a tattoo. I love Angela, but Joanna won't be keen on it. Um, Angela Rose Masi, simply put, is one of my favorite human beings in the universe. I've known her. I think she started as a student of mine, as I recall, and then she used to go to the New England Narrator Retreat when it was at the Whispering Pines in Rhode Island, which was a great. What fun that was! It was kind of, I don't want to say run down, but old, but really wonderful. It's classy and great. And I think, what'd you go, 2, 3 times?
I think I went 4 times. I went a couple times, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we started, and we'd still be there, except it closed. It was in Rhode Island. It was just a lovely place, but I'd known Angela through working with her. I think, was it Edge Studio when I was still at Edge?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow, so that's going way the hell back.
Yeah.
So Angela is, I'll just say that as more people come in, I'll repeat this when we get a bigger audience. She has a resume that is just to be reckoned with. She's done everything. She's a writer and a director and a singer. Damn, a brilliant singer, a choreographer, just I've run out of. She's a Renaissance woman. She's the mother of, I think, what do you have, 56 kids now?
57 now.
Yeah, 57. Yeah, she's just and
She's
by the
getting to
way,
your numbers, Johnny.
yeah, a little message if you want. Tell your husband, what's his first name? Is it
John.
John? Tell John just to stay away for a while. Yeah, give me a break. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah, let's just have a glass of wine and call it a night, shall we? Because how many kids do we have? You have 6 kids, don't you?
I have 4.
That's close enough.
And 2 dogs, so 6. You can call
yeah,
it 6.
Yeah. And Lucy is your newest baby.
Lucy is the newest.
Can you tell now? Now I don't want to deal. Lucy was it was a long time within the hospital with that girl.
Lucy had a lot to do. She had an agenda. So Lucy came at 25 weeks. So she was about 4 months early. And she was born at 1 pound, 7 ounces. She was, that big. She's very small. So she lived the first month and a half of her life in a plastic box in the NICU. And then she spent another 2.5 months in the NICU getting better and better. She came home in late June and everybody adores her and she's living her best life. She's
That's
really doing
great.
well.
That's
So
so.
thanks for asking.
I'm so happy. I don't know anything about birth or bodies and
Life.
humans.
Me
I
neither.
don't know anything about it. But what makes a kid? If you can tell us, I don't want to be too personal, but what makes a kid come early like that? What happened?
Well, so I developed a condition that just magically happens to some women during pregnancy called preeclampsia, where your blood pressure, for no real reason other than it just decides to, goes through the roof. And what happens is if it gets too high, you can have a stroke and die, or the baby can die, or you could both die. So what they do is when you develop this condition, which again doesn't really happen for any reason other than it just randomly happens, they monitor your blood pressure, and no matter what, they're going to induce you at 34 weeks. So I went in at 24 and change, and I said, and they're like, well, it's high, you should monitor your blood pressure. I said, okay. And I got all my friends and family together and I said, listen, guys, it's going to be a crazy couple months. I need to just relax. Can you all be on your guard, ready to carpool and whatever? And then 3 days later, we had to do an emergency C-section.
Oh
And
my!
there she was. So
Oh
it
my
was a
gosh!
crazy journey.
Well,
But she's so strong. Like I learned so much. And the people who took care of this baby, the nurses and the doctors, they're just the most incredible people in the world. I'm so grateful for everything that they did for her and for me and for us all the way through. I can't even, amazing.
now who's watching her now? She's in the backyard with the dogs, or what's happening here?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
the dogs have
the
got her.
dogs
She's
are
fine.
batting her back and forth.
My mom's watching her.
Ah,
My mom came to take care of us.
that's great. Well, I'm so happy. I know that it was a because you shared all the photos as time went on. We're all moved by, and I'm so glad everything worked out, and so glad that things are good again. And I'm just telling you, 4 is enough, hon. Okay.
I know.
Go adopt a couple kids, or just take them from Costco when they're standing around looking at stuff. Yeah,
That's
grab
probably
one.
what I'll do.
Yeah.
It's probably a little cheaper.
So now, let me tell you. So here else, Angela Rose Masi. She has a company called Bookworm Theatrics. Yes, that's the name.
That's us.
Now tell us about that, because that's super important with this audience.
Okay, so a little bit after I met Johnny, maybe 2 years or so, I was just getting into audiobook narration. I'd probably just come fresh from some kind of Johnny Heller retreat somewhere, and I had gone off to do a Sound of Music contract in Georgia. And one of the little girls who was playing one of my multiple children in the show, she just kept coming in and she was struggling with her lines and she was struggling with her lines. She was 9 years old. It was just weird that she wasn't. And eventually I pieced it together from talking to parents and teachers and kids that that she, among many, many others in this little rural town in Georgia, um, couldn't read. Like they were really struggling because the school didn't have the funding it needed to get these kids the help they needed. And I remember sitting there thinking, what? Like, this is America. What are we talking about? And, seeing as we as audiobook narrators obviously have a great love of literacy and books, and we feel that these things are so important, I said, I wonder if I could get some friends to come out of their booth and come play in my native world in the theater and get together and find some inspiration and also maybe do something about this. So what we've done over the last several years, we do one production a year, professional production, and all the money that we make from the production goes towards purchasing materials for underfunded literacy classrooms. So, like we bought desks and chairs for a classroom in Philadelphia. We purchased a some speech aids for a school for children with disabilities in the Bronx. We've done a lot of things like that with the proceeds from our work.
That's so wonderful.
That's really
Now,
cool.
now, if those, and we'll post this again later. Now, so here it is. It says Bookworm Theatrics. People can make donations to that, yes? And support your
Oh,
cause?
yes, please. Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
so the show we did, by the way, do you go by Angela Massey or your serial killer name, Angela Rose Massey?
we try to keep the serial killer thing on the DL. Just Angela Massey would be
Really?
great.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really want to bring the serial killer thing up
Well,
right
it's gonna
now,
come
but
up sooner or later. People are gonna
they're
Google
they're
you to
buried
find
right
out. Yeah.
right there.
Don, what's your middle name, man?
Michael.
Yeah, Don.
Michael?
Don
Michael
Michael. Sounds like a river dancer.
Yeah, it
is.
doesn't sound like a
It
serial
is.
killer at all.
That's my heritage. I'm from Ireland, and yeah, I river dance my way across the pond. I didn't think you would notice. Okay.
Move over, Michael Flatley.
We should all,
people
everybody
wanted
should
to-
use middle names on the show from now on, so we look like a serial killer show.
Yeah. So,
True crime podcast.
so Johnny,
So
were
here-
you ever in any of these stuff? You did some one of her theater things?
Indeed, I did. She asked me if I'd be in it. We did A Man of No Importance, which I
Starring
thought was
you?
about me. Yeah.
That almost wrote itself.
So it was wonderful. And I got to play Baldy because of my, clear lack. I didn't name the character and I didn't shave my head for it. But it was it was a musical. And I hadn't been in a musical since high school. And I had always been a little, I sing all the time. I make up songs, I'm singing all the time, but I don't do it in front of people. And I was very afraid. And there's a song, it's a wonderful song. The hugs that, what's your
Cuddles Maddie gave.
The cuddles Mary gave me. See, I remember it so well. Anyway, but it was a very moving song. I sing it over my wife's grave after having just killed her myself. And No, I didn't kill her. She was dead. She died. So I'm singing
I
a
mean, you
song.
might have killed her.
It's very, very, very moving, very sweet. And not only did I sing it okay, I actually was on key and tune and pitch and stuff. I did it all.
And he acted the snot out of it. It was gorgeous.
Oh, it was fun. The only thing what was funny was it was a great cast, and we did it at the where's the dance theater? The
The Alvin Ailey.
Dance Theater on 47th or 48th, and we rehearsed. We put this thing together in like 2 weeks and did we all this choreo. The first thing, Angela had a boatload of choreography, and it was just too much. Nobody could remember it. We spent all our time trying to move stupid chairs and to make a fake. It's about a bus driver. It's a movie with Albert Finney. Great, and Angela had a great cast. Everybody was so fantastic. Adam Barr, amazing. James Romick, amazing. Wendell,
Lisa Flanagan.
Lisa Flanagan. Oh my gosh, it was just a great group of audiobook people, and Wendell's an actor, and all the names are failing me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Paul and Amy and Allison and Patrick and Christine Rendell.
Yes, Christine Rendell, wonderful. It was
just a joy.
It was a joy to work together, and it was so much fun. We had rehearsals, and we do the show, and even during the show, I couldn't remember what was next. I kept saying, "Who's the guy?" I kept saying, "Yas Queen." Who is
Dan?
Huh?
Dan Bussey.
Dan Bussey, wonderful guy. And I just stood next to him, and I said, "What's going on now?" And he said, "This is the scene where you do your song." Okay, so we all remembered our lines, but I couldn't remember how things went. But it was magnificent. And we did it 2 nights, and then having done this brilliant musical and ready to claim my Tony Award, COVID hits.
3 days later.
Literally, there was a big party because it was during Audiobook Week, I think.
Yep.
There were parties and all these things, so the place sold out. Oh, we made all this money, and the company that Angela used swiped all the money.
They sure did.
Tell that story.
Well, I think what had happened was that they they had somebody in charge, many people in charge who were not necessarily business people. I think these people were like actors who were like, we're going to start a company and help people. But when this ticketing agency, when all the refunds started going out, money was going to the wrong place and everything was getting crazy. So their obvious choice was to stop all funds completely.
So it wasn't thievery, but buffoonery.
Yes. And I think 4 years later, finally, they got sold to Ticketmaster or somebody. And Ticketmaster's like, we're going to
make it all right.
Take care of this quagmire. So we did actually about 2 years ago, we did get our funds finally. But
anyway,
it was tricky.
You guys, by the way, start asking questions. But this adventure, this audiobook, the Bookworm Theatrics, is so wonderful. And Angela, I'm telling you what, and not only that, then she writes. What was that play that you wrote and did? Was magical.
So I last year we workshopped a musical that I've been working on called Allerleirauh. It's German. Working title. We're gonna fix the title. Don't worry. We just had to slap something on it to put the workshop up.
Brunhilde would
yeah. It's the many-furred creature. It's a grim fairy tale. But my buddy Dylan and I, he did the music, and the music is absolutely stunning. It's a story about. It's a fairy tale about a mom and everything she goes through to keep her child safe and learning how to be who you need to be for your child, but also who you need to be for yourself and where that line is. And we got to workshop it at the beautiful Alvin Ailey in 2023. And since then, we've been tweaking the script, we've been workshopping it, and we've actually decided we're very interested in turning it into an audiobook musical. I think that given the fairy tale nature of it, it's actually driven by a narrator on stage. I think that it would be a really lovely multicast thing to get together as soon as I can kind of pull my energy.
Christine Vam did some. I worked with her on the Rumpelstiltskin musical.
Yep, my kids listen to it all the time.
Yeah, so the musical is really, really translated quite well.
Mhm.
into the audiobook formula. And I don't want to give you the swelled head, but I just think, I truly think you're magnificent. You wear so many hats so well, the most multi-talented person I've ever been associated with is you, without
I have to
question.
tell you, Johnny, bookworm theatrics only exists because as someone with crippling ADHD, I know my limits as far as how much I can get done in a moment before I get distracted. And when I decided to do A Man of No Importance, I said, "All right, you need to tell someone you really respect so that you have to follow through." So I asked Johnny out to lunch and I said, "Johnny, I wanna do this musical and I wanna do it in New York and I want you to be in it." And he kinda looked at me and goes, "A musical?" I was like, "No, it's gonna be really good." And when he said he was on board, I was like, "Okay, now I actually have to make this happen." So much of what I get done is, like, driven by peer pressure, but at least now I've learned, unlike middle school, I know how to utilize it the right
I was
way.
so scared. I was so scared. I was
You
But
usually I'm totally cool in front of audiences. I mean, but this, doing this was
it's a
absolutely
different
frightening.
thing.
I remember when I was in Chicago, my best friend Mike Overzet and I'll stop yabbering on, but we did this singing for non-singers class at Victory Gardens Theater because we used to do
Mhm.
shows there. And they had me sing "I Got a Crow," you know that one. I
Yeah.
Got a Crow, so they had me sing that, and I was at the piano like this, and I was rubbing my hands so much, my friend thought I was trying to catch it on fire because I was so nervous. And I finally go, "I got a crow." I go, "Excuse me, I'll be right back." Like right in the middle of the song, and I ran away. I never came back.
yeah, but
I was an adult, and I still ran away like a child. It's like an MRI. I just run away from those things.
Look at how you've grown.
Yes, now I don't run away. I do panic though.
yeah, but
No place.
okay, but here's one of the things that somebody's a non-performer does not understand. Sometimes they think, "Oh, Heller's never been nervous. Oh, Angela's just fantastic in front of people." We all have those moments where, as a performer, terror is a part of it for a short term, and I mean, you find a way through it. You find how to manage it. You never get over it. And even to this day, I'll bet we could find a situation where I'm going to be nervous if I went out and did something. Johnny would just be petrified if we could get the right situation. And Angela would probably be out of her comfort zone too. Maybe clearly having a child prematurely and going through that a little out of your comfort zone. But as a performer, we all go through those moments where we're petrified. And Heller's been through it. Angela's been through it. I've been through it. You do have to go through it. There's no way to be great at anything until you learn how to go through a few of those moments and how to manage them. And after you get through them, now tragedy plus time equals comedy. So Heller today laughs about the time he ran away. That day, I bet he didn't feel good about it. Right? Is that
No,
close?
I was
Mhm.
laughing when I was outside too.
Okay.
But it was nervous laughter. I was
Yeah.
literally, and I didn't know anybody. I wasn't up for a role. I was just trying to get through a song.
In the class.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it happens to
Oh,
all of
here's
us.
Larry saying before a show he gets nervous. Before shows, I remember in high school and college. Not when I did stand up, it never happened, but I would throw up
Yeah.
before my entrance.
Oh.
Bleh. Hello, everyone.
I'm
Well,
the one who, as I'm off stage, I'm always like, "Oh, nope, I forget the whole show.
yeah.
It's gone." And then you get out and you're fine, but I'm always the one backstage going, "Oh," during the show I wrote, we work the workshop. It starts, beautiful music begins, and I look at the guy playing the villain, he's standing next to me backstage, and I looked at him, I was like, "I know I wrote this, but I don't remember any of it." He goes, "Go." Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's always fine in the end. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
We did a show at the Hudson Theater Guild a couple years ago. My friend Larry Kelly, who he's called Miracle Larry because he had COVID really bad and was in a coma for a long time. He wrote the show
Mhm.
called Danny Schott wrote the show called Roll the Dice, and it's about playing. Remember Stratomatic baseball, that game? So it's an old game. So it's just Larry and I on stage, and the rules. You have the rules because you look up, you roll the dice, and you see whether Babe Ruth hit a home run or not. You look at a card and see how many points it means, like Monat. So we wrote our lines down on those cards. He wrote the play and he couldn't remember his damn lines. So
Yeah.
we look at the cards and go, oh, the
Yeah.
very first line, the first night we walk out, he walks out and says the wrong line of his show.
It
That's
happens.
funny.
I just think there's no way to be a great performer without being a mediocre performer at some point and then learning from it and growing through it. Nobody
Yeah.
starts off being a superstar right at the beginning. They just
Well,
every performer I've ever known, you go back in their history and they'll tell you about the time that they got laughed off stage. They fell and tripped. It's just that's just part of it. And people don't just arrive being spectacular. They go through a process. It's same
what
for all
have
of
happened
us.
to you, Don? Because you're a fantastic drummer by
Well, I
and
was. I
when
don't
people
play.
say, what do people say about drummers? That they get to hang around with musicians.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The musicians and the drummers. Yes, it's definitely something that's long. Yeah, I've heard that for years. But it always, so I had one year where I did 260 gigs. So I was playing
Mm.
260 nights, driving
A
around
long day.
LA, setting up, and these were primarily on the weekends. So I'd be doing 3 or 4 on the weekend. I would be nervous on the drive to a gig because maybe I didn't know the people on that gig that night. I knew one of the musicians, the rest I didn't know. I didn't know what we were going to play. That's not pre-planned. There was no rehearsal. And I would be nervous despite the fact that I had already done 200 earlier this year. And then I'd get there and settle in and we'd play the first song. It's like, okay, like, fine, this will be great. But I was uncomfortable, but you do learn how to manage it and turn it
Mhm.
into I'm excited rather than I'm nervous. So that's a whole
Yeah.
different performance
You
thing we could have
you
later.
you have to admit that it's there. And so how do you deal with the nerves?
You know, I think at this point, I have learned enough to say it's gonna be fine on the other side.
Right.
I'm pretty good at just get her done. And I think what I've discovered that I really love directing. I love this much more than I love performing. And what I have learned from watching other performers who I really respect, um, is that 100% of the time they do their best work when they are unsure
Yep.
because, they're able to take that unsure and embrace the vulnerability of that, and it allows an audience to look at you and see themselves in you. When you walk out there and you are rock steady sure, there's nothing relatable about that because I don't know about you guys, I never feel sure of what's going on literally ever. Um, and I think that my nerves through watching other performers and helping them to use their nerves into what they're doing, my nerves have become a thing that are a real asset to me. I let them give me energy, and I try not to get in my own way too much.
Yeah.
The nerves are an important part of letting yourself be open. And if somebody hates what you do, so what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
mom loved it. At least you know mom loved it. And if mom didn't love it, she'll never tell you, so it
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right.
Right?
I used to,
Like
when I used to drive out to do comedy shows, and I'd be doing my routines in my head. I'm just going over them and tightening them up and fixing them. And then you go on stage and you make changes right away, just
mhm.
almost immediately. And I always like that. I channel my nervousness into improvisation, if you will,
Yes.
to play it. Because the thing is, you can't if you're doing stand up and it's your own words or improv, you can channel the
Mhm.
nervousness and use it. If you're on stage, unless your character is nervous, like enter laughing or something like that,
Mhm.
that'd be a great play.
Noted.
Then you need then you've got to play opposite the nerves. You've got to play the role that you're that you're supposed to play. So the nerves you've got to find a way to combat whatever negativity you might associate with nervousness.
And
Yeah.
that's where I love the collaboration of theater, because when you get on stage, if you've got that, like, that going on, one of the best ways to use it and diffuse it is to, like, connect with the other person. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
had
yeah.
put you out on that stage and said, "Can you just sit on this bench completely by yourself and sing this love song?" You would have been a mess, but you had Paul sitting next to you, and I said to you, "You're not allowed to look at Paul, but I want you to sing to him," and the connection that was felt between the 2 of you was so gorgeous, and all those nerves just came out as, like, so
Passion.
sweet, and we saw so much through that. But I love the magic that happens turning nerves, like using the human connection to turn nerves into tennis with someone else.
I know you don't do as much with the audiobook world as you once did, and you're busy and doing things. But did you ever, because I think this is important, and I'll tell you my take on it, but did you ever find a way to take that performance nervousness, if you will, even because you even get it in an audiobook where there isn't a live audience and you have the script in front of you. There's still sometimes
Mhm.
that nervousness about, are you playing it right? Are you doing things? Did you ever find that and find a way to incorporate it and make it part of the performance and make it a better performance because of it?
That's a great question.
Well, thank you.
One of my best audiobook experiences was maybe 3 books in. I did this really amazing book by Erin Michael Ritchie called Armageddon Girls, though now it's changed its title, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's called now. I'm sorry, Erin. But Carol Monda directed me, and, she was like the little voice of God in my ear as I was going. Um, and she was so brilliant at I mean, at the whole job, but at reminding me when I was getting so in my head about things and, like, letting them go, if that makes any sense. And I'm so glad that I worked with her so early on because carrying that through and recognizing when I've gone onto autopilot or when I've gone into, "Oh, I hated that, but I'm still reading. I need to stop reading for a minute and go back and try again." Um, Not sure I answered your question, but Carol's a great director, by the way. That's
Yes, she is.
the
Carol,
moral of that answer. Sorry.
Carol is wonderful. She's been on our show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Don, your lovely wife Lisa has a great comment about
Well, her and I
Mel
talk about
Robbins. I
because
guess
both. So Lisa has a
that's Baskin's brother.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa, my wife, has a theater degree and a classical singing degree, and just we both have talked thousands of times about the concept of performing and channeling that nervousness into excitement, and most of it
Mhm.
is turning our head around and embracing, finding the way, and we all have to find our own way to embrace those feelings and the butterflies that are there and have it come out on the positive side. And it is totally in our heads. It doesn't, and just because I know it's in my head doesn't mean I can instantly channel it and fix it. But if you do enough performing, you do get comfortable with the fact that you are going to be nervous or excited. And I do, Lisa and I, we do reframe it now. We always talk about it as, I'm definitely excited about tonight's performance. We don't allow
Yeah.
ourselves to use the word anymore, I'm nervous. We have changed it, and our headspace is,
Yeah.
boy, I'm definitely feeling excited about tonight.
Yeah.
And
We use
You
the word
gotta
petrified. Yeah.
change it from fear to fuel,
yeah,
Yeah.
well, and
right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's
ultimately,
it.
right, is this the same for you too? That ultimately that's what it becomes as you do a
Mhm.
little more and you're more seasoned. Is that correct? Incorrect? How does it work for you?
Absolutely. Unfortunately for me, the fuel makes me talk even faster, which is why I still have Johnny Heller's little quote up in my booth, "Slow the down,"
It's right behind my head there.
Yeah,
because I just go
Zara
faster and
Johnson
faster.
embroidered it for me. Yeah.
yeah,
That's really funny.
I did. You see? See, look, see, wait.
I love everything about that.
yeah. So it is a performer process. Everyone goes through it, and it never. I don't. Well, at least I don't. I don't think it ever goes away. It's always that
No.
excitement is always going to be there. That feeling of minor discomfort that you can turn into a positive, and we're all going to go through it. And it's also associated with the imposter syndrome, where you kind of think, "Oh, I might not be a good enough singer." Johnny going out being uncomfortable because he's singing, live. At first, there's that little voice going, "I don't know if I can do this."
Well, I got to sing like a little old Irishman so I could hide behind the brogue. Um,
That
yeah,
that's
I'll
true.
say this regarding nervousness because when you went to the early days of the New England retreat at Whispering Pines, and that was the first time that publishers never spent 3 days with you, and they were
Mm,
there. And there was we did not, and at that time we didn't think about imposter syndrome or those words weren't in use. They just weren't, but the
mm,
feelings clearly existed. And I think people found a way to, because you read your stuff in front of publishers and and talked to them. So this was a chance we had to get off the idea this is an audition, but this is just a chance to work. Because in a theater class, in a workshop, it's okay to fail. It's okay to make choices that don't work because that's the learning process. And to
mhm.
make that point clear was difficult. And I think because I think you were there from the beginning, Angela, that was always an issue we had. the desire for everyone to work on their piece and kill it versus working on their piece and getting better at performing. And no one ever paid attention to the fact that the publishers were as nervous as you guys, as the actors.
It's always funny when you go in to teach, in the back of your head, you're like, God, I hope I'm gonna have something to say today.
Oh,
But
yeah,
you
it's
always
like
do.
it's like going to your therapist. Yeah, I got nothing. And then it's the
I
best
get
half hour or hour you've ever done.
it's funny because I remember thinking at the retreat that it was so much harder to accept it as a I'm losing you. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. I remember thinking that it's
Johnny has that same
so much
problem.
all the time. It's so much harder to be vulnerable the way you are in a theater acting class
Yeah.
in that one-on-one coaching. I was like, why is this? Why? And I remember like lying in bed at Whispering Pines thinking, what's wrong with you? And then, the more I thought about them, I was like, well, because we're right here and this is a very intimate conversation. This isn't
Yeah.
this isn't
Well,
acting, right? But then what do you learn about your theater acting from the fact that it feels weird to you to be intimate with somebody while you're acting, right? Like another big light bulb
Because
moment.
audiobooks are much more cinematic acting style. Then there's no,
Mhm.
as I said, there's no jazz hands, there's no proscenium march, there's no sing out Louise. Everything, as Paul Rubin says, is less, less, less. That's
Hi, Paul.
yeah.
Um,
He's not paying attention to this. If he's not being paid, he's not involved. Yeah.
also
good for him.
live theater does have the one difference that the audience becomes almost a blob out there. Most of the time when you're performing in front of a big group of people, if there's enough people there, it kind of just becomes a background, and most of the time you're not focused on any one person. If at least I was never as
Yeah.
a performer.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm in front of 1,000 people, and I almost don't see anybody. So the bigger the
No,
crowd,
they
the
just
easier it
become a
gets.
wall of
Yes,
energy
yes,
Yes.
that
yes.
you can like
Positive or
bounce a
negative.
ball off of,
Right.
which you cannot do in the audiobook world,
That's
which I think is why I think that's part of why I was like, maybe this isn't for me because I really struggled being by myself in a box. I was
Yeah.
like, I
yeah,
need
yeah,
somebody, anybody
yeah.
help me.
Yeah, playing off people
Which
is
is
easier than doing a. Well, I doubt you're doing a one-person show anytime soon, correct?
nah, not my jam.
Yeah,
Not my jam.
yeah.
Oh,
That would.
you'd be awesome.
Johnny, would you ever do a one-person show?
Of
Well,
course.
you did, but you
Every
did
day.
stand up. You actually already did.
Yeah, I would without bet. Of course, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you could carry it off. I
And
mean,
I'd like
every
to
day of
thank
your
my
life is
co-stars. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I would do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because see, the thing that I don't have, even though I have that nervousness, I
Mhm.
don't have imposter syndrome. I just don't have it. I really think that I do belong at the things I'm doing. I like I worked hard to be here, and I'm totally fine with it. I understand the imposter syndrome. I understand where it comes from because I have other, psychological issues that aren't imposter syndrome. So I understand that people have it, and I think we have to all understand that, we're all different people. The performer, I always say, the need to perform has got to be so strong that that's all you can really do. Because if you can find joy in some other facet of life, that's where you got to go. Because this is brutal. It's a brutal world we're all in right now. But we're succeeding at it. But I don't know if we could ever do it. If we could ever, I don't know what else I could do. The only other thing I could do is write full time. That's the only other thing and that's still another outlet. Other than that, I couldn't be a salesman. I couldn't do that stuff. I don't think any of us could. Happily, anyway.
No.
You could do it. Excuse me. So tell us about your you're a professor now. Where are you professing and what are you professing?
This is my second year at Drew University.
I'm sorry,
I'm
what university?
teaching Drew University in
Okay.
New Jersey. So I'm on the music faculty. I teach voice for them, which is really fun. I have students that absolutely run the gamut from like the chemistry major who just wants to come in and scream Olivia Rodrigo for half an hour a week, and I'm happy to just sit there and play the piano while she does it. I have, the super intense, I will be the next Idina Menzel kind of music theater babes. And I love them all.
Yeah.
And this, I love them all. Um, this semester I get to teach an acting the song class, so I've kind of wormed my way into the theater department.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Kimani. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. That's the second half of the semester class, so I'm looking forward to getting to do that work with them because it's
How do you grade the student? I mean, how many students would be in a given class, and how do you work out grades? Because it can't be just whether you can sing well or not. It's got to be what else you can pull out of it.
so for the voice lessons, it's I just want to see your effort. And then also the advanced kids at the end of the semester, they have to do what's called a jury, where they have to get dressed up like it's an audition and they have to come with pieces prepared. And the entire music faculty sits there and chooses a piece and then, like writes feedback and they get a grade from that. As far as the acting a song, I think it's really going to come down to, for my class, it's going to come down to effort, preparation, and citizenship. Just I also want to see that you're able to be supportive in in an acting class situation because if you can't do that, you're not going to make it in this industry anyway. You
Yeah.
have to be able to be a human being to other people as well as, dealing with your own insecurities in front of human beings. Um,
Are you
yeah, I think go.
are you coaching? I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you coaching narrators and voice actors as well?
Um, I haven't. No, I haven't. Most of my work has been with theater people. I every now and again, a friend will say, "Can you help me get my demo together?" And I say, "Well, go talk to Johnny Heller." And they say, "Well, I can't afford Johnny Heller." I said, "Okay, well then I'll help you out." So I do a bit of that kind of thing. But most of my work has been live performers, theater, and some stuff um like on camera. I work with a really wonderful group called Shine who is they're essentially performer boot camp. It's how to do an interview, how to dress, how to set up your camera, how to, all that kind of stuff. I do branding work with them and I do enjoy working one-on-one with those guys with their song selections and their monologue selection and that kind of stuff. Um
Do any of
I
the
lost
students who are there working with you, and I know it's all musical theater based what you're doing, so maybe it doesn't come into it, but do they ever ask you, "Hey, what else is out there for?" Because we three and many of the audience know that a lot of the audiobook narrators don't come from an acting background at all, or
Mhm.
even a theatrical background. And
Mhm.
sadly, in my mind, many of them don't realize the importance of theater training. Even when you're already getting work as a narrator, it's important to continue your learning. Do any of your students you say, "Hey, there's voiceover careers as well"? I
A
mean, does
lot
that
of
ever?
them a lot of them imagine that voiceover like, I'm gonna get a job in voiceover means I'm gonna instantly book a cartoon show. Like,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
first thing everyone thinks is I'm gonna be in animation, which is a lovely thing to think. But as we all know, it's a really competitive market. Um, I do occasionally talk to every now and again, someone will say, "Wait, tell me about audiobooks." And I think, as you know, it's a very specific person who even bothers to ask that question. You know?
Yeah.
Um, Everyone says, "Oh," like, actors theater people in the industry already tend to say, "And I think I'm gonna do some voiceover work," without really quite yet understanding what that actually means.
Right, right.
Um, but students in general, they're coming out of high school, they've done nothing but, like, big, loud musicals for 4 years where they stood in the back and pretended they could whatever.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
get to college and they're very focused on, this idea that they're gonna be, like, a star, and that's not voiceover. Voiceover is, like, never that. Voiceover is this subtle, super subtle, like, it's
Niche.
more power. It's a lot more power, but it's a lot less, you know,
Yeah, it's a lot more.
recognition. And I think that most young people don't think about that until they've been trying to hack it on and theater for a couple years and they're not getting anywhere. People think of it almost like just a way to make extra cash instead of a career that you can be passionate about and really enjoy. Takes people a while to figure out that it's what they want, unless they're, I'm going to be in the animation world, and some people come in with that in their head. But um, I don't think VO is something young actors think to explore early enough. If
What
that
did
makes
you
any sense.
start in? How was your career began?
I'd never my sophomore year of college, I did a musical, and I said, "Well, this is fun, I could do this." So I finished out a music ed degree, and then I did a vocal performance music theater degree back home in Jersey, and then I just did the thing. And I had never thought of voiceover until so my dad was blind, and I grew up listening to audiobooks with him, and when he passed away, literally 3 days later, I got a flyer for your class, and I said, "Alright, dad, you got this. I get it, I'll go." But I'd never thought about it before then. But as soon as I got to your class, I was like, "This is really cool. This is like magic in a box, literally." But I'd never thought about it before then. So,
I had no idea. I had no idea it was so early in your career that we did that. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
How
I've
long
known you a
ago?
long time, I guess.
How long ago did you two meet?
7 years.
Right? Is that right? How do you
Mhm.
remember that? I can't
Because
do
I
that.
I met you right after my son was born.
Oh, that's how I see. There's got to be a connection there.
Everything's tied in with the kids.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can say I met you after lunch. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, Abby Getty was in that class. A couple other rock stars were in that class too.
Abby Getty's delightful. She's still
She's
out in that. You know Abby
great.
Getty, Don?
Um,
She's wonderful. Wonderful actor. She
Mhm.
did this little tap dance, song and dance thing in our show. It was just wonderful. And you know who else
She
is
did.
wonderful? Lisa Flanagan. I don't know if anybody's
Oh
paying
my
attention to this thing.
god.
She's a
If
god.
anybody out there needs to hire someone to do anything, please hire Lisa Flanagan.
Oh,
She is
just
so
and a
amazing.
marvelous human being. Well, we love. I'm going to invite her. Get off. Get off. I'm going to put her on right now.
You get her on.
Bye bye. I'll invite her.
so do you have any
Yeah.
advice for people who are just getting started?
I should have thought of this earlier. Do I have any
Well,
advice?
you
My
have your background, and if you were gonna be doing audiobooks, what should they be considering?
my best advice is less, less. And is to find the right teacher, the right coach who makes sense to you and stick to them like glue. Just find the right coach. Not everybody is the right coach for every person, but when you find somebody who makes sense to you and knows how to get your best out of you, don't let them go. Cast them in a musical or something, and then they'll just keep coming back. It's hard to find somebody who makes you feel comfortable being vulnerable enough to do the acting work involved in an audiobook or voiceover at all. So when you find that person, please don't ever let them go. Carol Monda and Johnny Heller are both really excellent.
Aw.
So
Oh.
what connection should I be looking for? How do I know when I found the right one?
When you finish reading a script or an excerpt and you don't remember reading it, but you feel like you just took the journey, that's amazing. Like when you are so involved and invested and they have you so focused that you finish and you're right there in the emotions of it and you can't remember a thing you just said, I feel like that's when you've really hit the gold. You're so in it that you're not worrying about your inflection anymore. You're not worrying about the basics anymore. That's and finding somebody who can get you there is just so it changes your life the first time you give a performance like that. It really
It's
does.
very much like being in an acting class
Mhm.
and suddenly getting like O'Neill or something and finding the moments and really usually in the middle of performance, all of a sudden what the scene's about dawns on you. The one
Mhm.
you've been working on and studying, and all of a sudden there's, oh, now it all makes sense. Something happens, something clicks
Yeah.
in this scene, this
Mhm.
character, their wants, their needs, the whole reason that the scene's written. All of a sudden
Mhm.
comes this like, and that moment is so magical. And you want to relive that moment a time and again and again and again, and that's why you continue, I think.
And you'll never find that unless you're working with someone who both makes you feel incredibly safe and is willing to call you on your bullshit.
Fair enough.
You need both of those things.
Wait, they can't just tell me how great I think I am?
I mean, they can, but they should probably also tell you that you're not as great as you think you are. Just once in a
Yeah,
while,
yeah,
they should
Okay.
say, "Massey, get it together."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Hey,
do
hey,
think that's
Miss Big Pants.
that's a I ultimately ended up with 2 excuses with my original instructor, a Motown session player. He'd kinda say, "Okay," I'd go complain to him, "I can't do this, I can't do this." He's like, what are our 2 reasons?" "Oh, yeah, I didn't do it slow enough and I didn't practice enough." He made
Yep.
me slow things down until and it's at some point, it's impossible not to do something right musically if you slow it down enough, and then it's also impossible to fail if you also invest the time and energy in practicing, and he kinda
Prep, do the prep.
ultimately came up to with 2 excuses for why I couldn't do something, and I'm sure there's an equivalent, but he would also say, "Ooh, let's, what do you think?" His kind of thing would be like, "What do you think about that?" And I knew what he was really saying was, "That's really crap. You did not work on that enough." And that's kinda was his way of doing it. So how many instructors did you go through before you found Heller? Or
I got
coaches?
super lucky, like I said, I he was the first one. He was the first one, I hit gold right away. But since then, I have worked with other people and felt, the difference. There are people who just work and they're for you,
Mhm.
and people who just don't work for you, and that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We all, as teachers and coaches and directors, know that we're not everybody's cup of tea, and
Right,
no one's ever gonna be offended if
right.
you're like, "Hey, I think I kinda wanna take this class." No one's gonna be like, "Whoa, instead of my class?" I mean, they may, but if that's the case, you don't wanna work with them
What?
anyway.
Right.
"What?" Yeah.
The great coaches know that most people are going to be, if they're serious about it, they're not going to have only one coach. Over time, they will be with a few of them, and then they do realize, oh, there's
Mm,
my gold one. And my guy
right.
was always telling me, my mentor was saying, you need to find 3. But he said to me,
Mhm,
you may have to go through 10 or 15 to
mhm.
find your 3. And he just said, but that's part of it, and he was comfortable enough in his the way he coached and his knowledge and background
Mhm.
that he did say to me after about 3 years, you do also need to find some others, and you may go through a bunch of them, but find your
Mhm.
3 that you stick with. And you kind of said, find your one. He was a find your
3 or
3.
3, you get a couple, because
But you,
Yeah.
everybody's got something else to offer you. I mean, there's people who excel at this and excel at this, and you have your team. It's a team. It is absolutely a team,
Here's my question
depending
for
on
you.
what you're working
How do
on.
you deal with Johnny Heller tells you one set of instructions, and then you go to Coach B, and they want you to do it totally opposite?
That took me a long time to figure out, right? Because you're fresh out of college and you're gonna take the theater world by storm.
Right.
And every time you do this cut, someone's like, "Well, I would rather it." What you realize eventually is that it's all objective. And if you sit and you look at the feedback long enough, even if it's coming from all different directions, it almost always boils down to the same thing. Almost always boils down to the same thing. So you need to be honest enough with yourself to look at all those conflicting bits of feedback and distill them and say, "Oh, I get it. What I really need to do when I'm sitting at that mic is take a deep breath and I need to calm down, or he's asking me to amp up my energy, or it's generally a different way of getting at the exact same thing. Um, but also at some point, I remember the day, we had our juries, our voice finals in college, and I you'd get these sheets back from everybody in the faculty, and you'd keep them because Dr. Hidgley said that I didn't breathe well enough, and Professor Cox said my diction was off, and you have all these sheets, and you keep them in a binder, and I remember the day I think I was 2 years out of college, and I just burned them all. I said, "Great.
Yeah,
I've learned, and I love you all, and I got it now, and"
your fireworks went off again. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
oh,
The fireworks background, did you see it?
how did I make it do that?
I
I
I
don't
know how
know.
you what are you doing? Are you pressing a button?
I'm doing nothing. I think it's just the iPhone's new thing. It happens now and again when my kids are FaceTiming people. I don't know. I gotta keep trying to.
The timing has been it's very funny. I think
We live.
yeah, I think one of the things that happens is when, like what you said, if Don says something and I say something and Carol says something and Joanna says something, we may all say it in a different way. and the actor needs to kind of pile through the verbiage. What does he mean? And that's why you want the coach that you can understand the best, who speaks to you the way. I've always said that, like when you read a nonfiction book, here's what the book's about, and I'm going to say the same damn thing 3 different ways, 4 different ways, 5 different ways, because I want to make the point. And I'm not sure if you need. Do you get it now? Do you get it now? How about if I say it this way? Do you get it now? And I think you find that, but eventually, the bottom line is it's always. You're right. It is this. They're all saying the same thing with different words. It's very rare that whatever is in your way performance-wise isn't the same thing for every isn't the same thing for every performer, every coach. Whatever it is in this particular piece, anyway, is consistent. How a coach recognizes it and tries to describe it to you may be different, but it's the same problem, the same issue. And I think every new piece, every new performance thing brings its own brand new issues.
Yeah.
Because every day the performer brings whoever they are at that moment,
Well,
You're not the
And I
same
think
woman. Yeah.
most performers, when they get into trouble, is when they stop bringing who they are and they start bringing what they think they're supposed to be. That's
Exactly.
really when things things hit the fan,
Yes. That's
Um,
exactly right. When
and
you try to
everybody's trying to get you in touch with who you are a different way,
Yeah.
or they're trying to get you in touch with who you are via what they're thinking about who they are, and that's hi. The dogs.
Baby?
My mom and the baby and the dogs. You guys wanna say hi to the baby?
Hi,
She's
everybody.
here.
Yeah.
sure.
Let's see
Hi,
Lucy.
here, bring me the baby. Hi, Mom. This is my mom, Terry. She's great.
We don't see her yet.
I know. I don't know if she gets you, but this is Lucy.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
Lucy.
Wow. And Lucy was
What a
the
sweetheart.
25-week-old?
she was about the size for a leg when she was born.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Bitty tiny thing. But here
Wow.
she is. Thanks, Mom.
And there she goes.
There she goes. Off
Little
again.
cameo from Lucy there.
With the governess, I'll see her when she turns 18. Whatever. Everything's fine. I'm
Yeah.
a great parent.
I
Oh, she goes to
quote.
military
I
school.
like John's comment here. Good advice is good advice, no matter how poorly it is given. And one of the things is if you see the same advice coming through from multiple coaches, then obviously that's a clear sign that I need to work on something. And so here's one of the things that everybody is up in arms about. So I go to a coach that doesn't fit. And but I also have to pay that coach, so I'm paying them 100, whatever, a certain amount of money. So if I don't handle it correctly, I feel like I've wasted $100 or whatever I invested in that coach. What's your feeling on that? So I
I
have to,
don't think okay.
right? So you go,
I
so
don't
to find to find the ones that work, I may coach with some people and they don't work for me. So did I just waste
I
that
will
time
say
and
that
money?
everybody, and I can say this because I've been there and I've done all this. Everybody you work with, whether it's the right person or not, once you find the right person, oftentimes everything that was said by the people who weren't the right people comes into focus and makes sense. It's never
Right.
wasted money. You may not understand it now, but you will.
Yep.
And it's sometimes it's just gotta sit, it's gotta percolate. You have to sleep on it for a night or a year or 10 years, but eventually that session will come back and you'll say, "Oh, that's what they meant." Right? Like it's never wasted. It's a waste if you know this is the wrong fit and you keep going back and you keep butting your head against the same
Yeah.
wall,
Right.
right?
Right.
Once
Right.
you know it's not right, move on. But it's never a waste
Yeah,
to
there's
to
also, let's
try.
be honest, you should also try to get some, whenever possible, try to get some opinions about potential coaches from those who have worked with them and thought about them.
Yep.
Because in our business, both theatrical and voiceover and music, everything, a lot of people put out their shingle long before they really should.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
creates insurmountable problems. If I've
Mhm.
done 10 books and you've done none, I probably know more about how to do them than you, but I don't know if I'm ready to coach. And the same thing, if I was the, man number 3 in a musical, I may not be ready. I may have done one more musical than you, but I don't know if I can coach musical theater yet. And I
Right.
just think people jump into that, it's like all of a sudden, like, I don't know what to do, so I guess I'll become a life coach. I'm like,
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what the hell is that? You know,
Uh-huh.
and there's a lot of coaches out there, and you really need to do your homework. You don't have to pick. Yeah, people. I don't coach everybody,
Right.
nor could I. But and I know plenty of great. Because of my workshops, I bring other coaches in. I see what they can do,
Right.
and I know who I like. I know who I'd coach with, but I also know people. I don't think I want to coach with them, but I really like what they do. It's just not my style.
Right. Well,
Mhm.
and you're smart enough to also, there can be a stylistic difference. And it, if you've been coaching long enough, you hear the whisper about that guy didn't like me. And I go, well, of course, I mean, I'm not going to fit for everybody. You're trying, as a coach, you're trying to get a 80% fit, a 90% fit. You hope that you relate to the large number of people. But there are some people that it doesn't matter how great of a coach I think I am, I'm not going to fit with everybody. And most of the coaches, they got over that long ago. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
student who goes, "Oh, no, I can't face Don again because I'm going a different direction." It's like, man, more power to you. Sometimes that's the right thing to do, and we recognize that. And I love your advice about. I've learned some of the best lessons from coaches who I've taken musically and performance-wise, and they were the wrong coach for me. But in the middle of
Mm.
that session, they said something that I did take from that and went back to somebody else and said, "Hey, this guy said something, I didn't get it." And they were able to go, "That guy's right.
Mhm.
He may not have said it in a way that you took it in correctly, or there was, but that person was correct. And here's what they really meant, and this is how they could see it." The coaches that I work with were able to take something that I learned and give me an insight that I just didn't have with the advice because I didn't connect with that coach. So you
Yep.
are going to go through some people, in my experience, and it's not a waste of money if you find the one or two nuggets. And then one thing I will say, I'll read a whole book, 400 pages on a topic, and I might find two little nuggets. That's it, something I'm studying, I'm trying to figure out. And then that
Mhm.
book just paid for itself. And if that coach
Yeah.
comes back and you paid $200, pick a number. Let's say you went to a $500 an hour coach. Well, you may not get that $500 back this week, but that person, if they really can legitimately charge that and have for a long time, if they're at those kind of higher rates, there's
Mhm.
something about what they have that will pay you back at some point. It just may not be next week because you might not have been ready for what they're able to give you. So it is a little
Mhm.
longer term investment. So that's what about you two with the higher end coaches? Good investment?
Yes,
I,
although I do think with some higher end coaches, it's good to know when you've gotten what you're gonna get. Like, like some of
Uh,
like, you have to also know when you've gotten what you're gonna get.
and
You
yep,
time to
have to
go.
be able to differentiate the coaches you see once a month to the coaches you call when you are in a pickle. They're
right.
2 different people. And the
Yeah.
higher end people are the people you call when you have a very specific problem or a very specific moment you need help with, and they'll get you through that moment, and you'll learn so much, and you only like, 5 minutes talking to them was all you needed.
Right.
Don't go to those people every week, right? Like, if you need someone every week, you're not at the point where you should be going to those people every week. You need something more basic. You need something where you're laying down your skills. You need an acting class. You need a diction therapist. You need, you need something else, than that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny, sorry.
No, I absolutely I agree. I think I know my dear friend Sean Pratt has like a what is it, a year long or 15-month program, whatever it is.
Mhm,
Joel Frumkin has a couple different or three different long, here's this week, here's next week, here's next week. And I
mhm,
don't do that. Scott Brick doesn't
mhm,
do that. We have I work with you where you want to work in. I usually work with people 1 to 5 times. And then they come
mhm,
back when they're in a pickle, which is what I
mhm.
like.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have
Curriculum.
a curriculum to go through like you have to have at school.
Yep.
Oh, look, my God, we've spent an hour.
Yep. We're getting here
What a
close to
delight
end
you
here.
are, young lady.
Oh, by
We've
the
I,
way,
Thanks
though,
for
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Tell us. Yeah. Sorry, Johnny. Repeat that, please. I stepped on you.
no, I just tell you again that I love Angela Massey.
Okay. So
That's all I was
is there
saying.
anything you want to promote or tell us about that things you have coming up? I saw the heart come up.
Um, I don't know how I did that, but that was exciting too.
Really?
I don't know why that's happening.
Really?
Um, I don't know, Johnny, I don't know.
Do it again. See what
Um,
happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
your phone knows that you did a heart, that you're very
what
special.
phone do you use? What is that? What wizardry is this?
Sorcery.
Oh,
I don't know how to make the fireworks happen again though. Anyway, I would go ahead and say, if you're an audiobook narrator in the greater New York area, and you enjoy theater and you're like, wow, I haven't done that in a long time, or if you're like, gee, I wonder if it would help I'm trying to get the fireworks.
I
It
know.
would help my acting to play with other people a little bit, shake things up for me in the booth. Please get involved in Bookworm in any way you can. This theater company was originally created so that narrators could have a place to come and play and refresh
Yeah.
their performing with other people.
Yep.
So if you have any interest, I really, really would love to
It's
see
not happening.
you or hear from you. Does anybody know how to make the fireworks happen? Anybody watching?
I
It's
Anybody?
so
I don't
funny.
know.
I don't know how you made that. Is that an iPhone 16 or 28 or something? How do you make the heart even, Devin?
I
I
don't
don't know how you do any of it.
I just
It
make a
How
heart,
is
see if it
what
works.
it does. The phone
what
the phone is recognizing you're doing a
you are
heart, and yeah.
you'd be burned as a witch in the 1600s for this sort of tomfoolery. Yeah.
I think they'd burn me anyway. I'm too loud.
Well,
That's all
Johnny, you have this New England thing coming up in another month or so
The
right.
that
New
some of
England
us are
Can
going
narrator
I
to,
come just
is
to hang out?
but
it's
it's kind of
you can come anytime you want. We'll make space for you. It's going to be great. We've got 4 publishers. It's going to be great. If you didn't make it this year, I'm so sorry, but we will be doing it again next year. We're looking at going to Santa Fe in May. I'm going to do the Splendiferous in March. And Don and I are doing something with Donnie this weekend,
yes.
aren't
So
we?
I
Or
was going
next
to
week?
talk about that one here. So for those of you who have always wanted to explore what a high-end coach is about, we have an opportunity for you to have a fly on the wall. We have 5 people who Johnny is going to be coaching live, and you're going to get to watch him coach 5 different people and take away how he works with people. And this is a chance. There's a live seminar. I just put a link up to it this next Saturday, the 14th. If you're watching this show after the 14th, you can still have access to it. We have it. It's all going to be taped and you'll be able to see it. But there's some magic in watching a really great professional coach who's worked with thousands of people over the years. When they're working with somebody, you'll realize, oh, I need that. Oh,
Mhm.
that's fascinating. It's not just me. Look at that, somebody else. So he's going to be live coaching 5 people, and you can watch it this next Saturday. So there's the link there. And if it's past the 14th of September 2024 and you're watching this show 2 years from now, you can go to that same link and you can find out and you can purchase it. It'll be available after the show too. So Heller's doing something he's never done before. We talked him into doing a live coaching session that's taped, and he'll have time with these 5 people. You'll get to watch it, and then he'll be talking about why did he make these choices and why should you make these choices, and some amazing things. So we're super excited about it. He's never done this before that I know of. And Johnny, any comments
I'm
on
going to
that?
be in this room, aren't I? And
Yes, you
right here,
are.
right?
Yep, you'll be right there, and we'll be
Okay.
over an extensive Zoom call, but you'll be able to see the people he's working with, the 5 people, one at a time, and you'll get insights that are really difficult to get without seeing so many good people. So Heller's,
Mm.
well, you'll see. He's spectacular, and we're going to have a good time. So that's next Saturday. So take that URL if you want to check out that. And of course, we'll be back next week. We're always the same time, same station. Great guests, more like Angela. They're not as well. Some of them are
No one's like
peers.
Angela.
Okay. So we're very happy.
There's only
Thank you
one
for being
Angela.
here. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.